Welcome to the daily podcast broadcast. Evening, day, morning, night, afternoon to you all. Hope this is reaching you in high, positive vibes, good spirits. What it do, boo? Today, we are going to be talking about a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but have been putting it off. But today is the day that we're going to dive deep into this. You're going to walk with me through Neverland, and we're going to talk about it. So if you have any comments, any topics, requests that you'd like to hear, hit me up, shoot me a text, call me, fax me, email me, send me a direct message on Instagram at Agent K21 Podcast, on Instagram or Twitter at Agent K. Hit me up in the inbox. All right, guys. Yeah, clear that throat. You feel me? Breathe it in. Let it all out. So I want to give a shout out to Out of the Blink podcast. I did a feature on their page. You can go check that out. Give them a follow, give them a shout. But yes, we are talking about a topic I have been wanting to talk about since 2 full moons ago, 2 or 3, I don't know. And yeah, it's deep. It's deep. And initially I was going to talk about karma today because today is the 9th of December and 9 is the highest number. 9 is also a highly karmic number. And some of you who follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I've been saying all year, this is the final year. The karmic chapter is going to close. There's going to be a door that is going to close at the end of this year. But I think I'll wait and talk about that maybe on the 29th, I think is what I'm going to do, because 29 is another karmic day, and I'll get into that very soon. But right now, what I want to talk about is the father, the stepfather, and the fatherless. Now, this has been something I've experienced a couple moons ago. I got a chance to actually sit down with my father and stepfather simultaneously. Now, Father's Day is nowhere near the American calendar for those who are in the U.S., but this topic has been on my mind and heart for a while, and I feel like today is the day to talk about it. So, when I say father, stepfather, and fatherless, for those who have struggled with their relationship with their father, or who have traumatic bonds with their fathers, or whatever the case may be, this is not intended to trigger you. And what I'm talking about today is the spiritual father and the spiritual stepfather and the fatherless in the spirit realm. So what does that mean exactly? What the hell are you talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is the Father being God the Father. God the Father, Jesus the Son, the Holy Spirit. That's what I'm talking about. But we're not getting into the Trinity right now, even though that's soon to come. Recently watched The Matrix, and I'm going to do a dive deep on that very soon. So stay on the lookout for that. But what I'm talking about is the Father, the spirit of love, the spirit of God, the universe, source, energy. That is the Father, the universal oneness. Whatever you decide to call it, that is the Father, that is the Mother, that is they, that is them. That's who I'm talking about. But in this particular dialogue, I'm going to call it the Father. The Father is the divine principle of unity. The Father protects his children. The Father gives good gifts to his children, does not withhold anything. The Father knows what is best and knows how to lead and guide his children in a way that only activity can do. Now, again, this is not about male, female, masculine, gender, none of that bullshit. None of that is what I'm talking about right now. But when I'm talking about the Father, in this instance, I am referring to God. I am referring to the light. I am referring to love. I am referring to all that is within us. Now, when I talk about the stepfather, I'm talking about what we may refer to as Satan, Lucifer, the devil, the enemy, the persecutor, the judger, the accuser, the tempter. That's who I'm talking about as a stepfather. Now, the stepfather plays a very important role because the stepfather steps in when the father is absent. The stepfather is able to provide things for the children that the father may not. The stepfather loves the children, but may not be able to provide what the father can for the children, right? I mean, for those who have step parents, you know a lot more than I could even explain in this segment. And my hat off to you, to those who have had that experience. That hasn't been my experience, but I have had an absent figure in my life and support in my life. And so other people will step up, and a child can't be raised in isolation. It takes a village, right? So it takes the father, the stepfather, and the fatherless. Now, the fatherless, when I refer to the fatherless, I refer to those who have no connection to either. They're not connected to God, source energy. They're not connected to devil. They're just there. And I only know how to speak about it the way it happened for me. So I'm going to give you guys a personal story. I want to see if you guys can follow me. So this is not sound based. There's no reference point for this, okay? So if you are interested in hearing the rest of the story, please stay tuned. All right, welcome. We are talking about the father, stepfather, and the fatherless. So venture off with me, if you will. Use your beautiful mind, your imagination, your heart, your soul to feel into what I'm about to tell you. Now, this part of it just came to me just now as I was thinking about doing this podcast. There's no validity to it or no research I've done on this. This is just what I feel. And for those of us who are light workers, starseeds, mystics, enchantants, wizards, whatever you want to call yourself, go there with me, because I don't know about how many people relate to this, but I know that I personally have the ability to walk between worlds. And for those who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And you've seen it, and you've been there, you've lucid dream, you do these things, you astral project, whatever it is for you. Well, it's something completely different for me as well. And so let me just paint the picture for you before I tell you my actual experience. So I'm sitting here and I was thinking to myself as I'm about to record this episode, I started thinking, what would be really interesting? I just had this downloaded to me of, in the beginning, God was with the world. He created the world. He knew everything. They knew everything that was going to happen. And the devil, second man in command, the second person, authority, angel, whatever you want to call this being, did not like the way things were going. He said, I got a better plan. And my plan is so much better that I'm willing to take half of the angels, a third of the angels with me to go succeed in this plan. Now, duality exists. Good, we know good because we know evil. We know evil because we know good. And so I thought to myself, what if this whole time, first of all, everything is going according to plan. That's, everyone likes to get on the whole sin and the fall of the world and all that. That's not what this is about. All of this had to happen. The collapse that's going to happen. All of this has had to happen. It's not something to be bashed and blamed and guilted over in centuries, like religion likes to do. That's not what this is. This is a divine plan that has to be set forth. And what I realized is the stepfather he wanted a family. He wanted a family. They wanted a family. And the only way that he could get it was to steal it, was to be conniving, because the stepfather is an imitator. The stepfather is not an original. does not have an original thought. All the stepfather can do is imitate. And so that's what the stepfather does, right? And so then you're seeing moments where, Jesus is out in the wilderness for 40 days without food. And he's with the stepfather. He's literally with the stepfather. And the stepfather is trying to tempt him to say, jump off this building and God will save you, or, eat this bread or whatever. Say my name and I'll give you the whole kingdom. All of this stuff. Because he was taken to that wilderness. Now, my experience, very, very, very different. And it's kind of gotten away from me, but I can still sense it and see it in the spiritual. I can still sense and see it. And, every full moon, shout out to the woo-woo crew. What up, though? Whoop, whoop. Shout out to the woo-woo crew, because we know something about it. And we doing stuff about it. Because there's been a spiritual battle that's been going on for a long while. And we're no longer hiding anymore. We're no longer in our secret places. We're starting to speak about this. We're starting to show it. We're starting to reveal what's really been going on. And so I had the full moon ceremony that I have. October full moon, Libra full moon. Shout out to the Libras like myself. Shout out to you. And I had my full moon ceremony, and the moon was so bright that night. And the fire was so warm. And I built myself a bonfire like I have done every full moon. And I learned so much in this moment. And I was taken down to the underground, to the underworld, where I sat with the devil. I sat with the Lord of the underworld. I sat with the stepfather. And the stepfather told me, you need me just as much as they need me. And I said, whoa, this is heavy. And then I heard the Spirit say, come to the light. And so I went and sat with my father on the other side. And I sat with them both. It was the most interesting thing I ever experienced. And I cannot put into words what was received in my spirit and soul that night. But what I learned is that the Father is always there, always willing, always able. Just as you can always see the moon illuminating even when the sun is out. The moon is always there. And what I did was I sat in the moonlight, and I could feel the radiant, unconditional love. I could feel that. And there were times when my father had to go do his business. And I was able to go sit back by the fire and be warmed with the stepfather. And I realized something about duality, that they coexist because they exist in the same field. There is no good and evil. It's all one and the same. It's all perception at the end of the day, but it's all one and the same. And there was just something really amazing about this time. Really, really amazing. And I've been feeling led like I could not share this, because if I shared this, if I spoke this truth, my truth, there's a fear. There's a fear that you won't be believed. There's a fear that you'll be taken away. There's a fear that you will be shunned, right? But I'm here to say, we're talking about whatever, because this stuff is not, it's not imaginary. It's not fake. It's very real. And for the skeptics out there listening, say what up to your mom for me. And for those who know what I'm talking about, I want to hear your stories. Share those supernatural stories that have happened. Share them more and more. Let the divine be heard and seen. And I went into my house a couple times to get like water or, food or whatever I had to get. And every time the fire was just blazing. Fire was just blazing super high. Like, I've never seen the fire blaze that long. Now, the log is supposed to burn for 2 hours. And this night, it definitely felt like it did. So I'm like, whoa, this fire is still going. Usually I got to relight this bitch. But no, this joint is still going. And I went in my house. And as I was leaving my house to go back and sit by the fire in the moonlight, 2 of my warriors text me at the same time. And I thought, whoa, this is powerful. I felt the power. Both of them text me, boom, boom. And I was like, oh, shit. Both of them text me. And both of them were basically saying a similar message of, we're standing with you and, we got your back and you're so powerful. You're so strong. You got this. And I went outside and the fire was extinguished. And there was nothing but a huge pit of smoke raising up to the ceiling, raising up to the heavens. And I just thought, wow, the fire just went out on its own. And the battle is not yours. And the fight is fixed. And that night, captives were set free. Literally, captives were set free. And I just danced in the moonlight, and I just worshipped in the moonlight. And I was so grateful in the moonlight. And I walked and I chanted my praise. And I asked for the captives to be released. And moments later, the gate was opened. And the captive was set free. Now, that's all I'm going to share for this time now. But I do encourage you to be connected to the divine. And to remember the importance of the father and the stepfather. Now, I didn't say much besides my own story, but we need all of the things that we consider good, evil. They're all divine. They're all purposely set in your path. Nothing is forsaken. So trust your path, do the math, and stay tuned. And until next time.